Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.
Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene. With me, as always, is the inventor of the infomercial and the original shark on the hit TV show Shark Tank, Kevin Harrington. Kevin, thanks for being here.
Hey, Seth, great to be here. I'm looking forward to an exciting episode today. I know we got a special guest, so let's get to it.
Yes, super excited to be interviewing John Assaraf, the Brain Whisperer, one of the leading high-performance success coaches in the world. He's been on Larry King Live, Anderson Cooper, the Ellen DeGeneres Show. He's CEO and co-founder of Remax Indiana, who grew from startup to $4 billion a year. One of the founders of Bamboo IPIX that went public on NASDAQ with a market cap of $2.5 billion. 2 New York Times bestsellers. Been in the blockbuster hit movie The Secret, The Quest for Success with Richard Branson, Dalai Lama, and 9 others. Today, he's the CEO of myneurogym.com. John, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be with you and Kevin. Let's have some fun.
All right, let's have some fun. So what is the Innercise movement that you are the founder of? And tell us why you created it. And we're obviously very excited about the launch of the app.
Thanks. Well, everybody knows exercise. Jack LaLanne, back in the 50s and 60s, popularized exercise. And in the 80s, Jane Fonda.
I sold a juicer with Jack LaLanne. So
there you go. Perfect timing.
And a little something else with Tony Little.
Jane Fonda, jazzercise. But something that, occurred to me many, many years ago is there's nobody teaching you how to strengthen your neuromuscles, your mindset. And so I started to think, since I was 19, I started to, visualize, meditate, do mindfulness, affirmations, all that stuff. And in essence, I was innercising my mind, my brain, my self-image, my self-worth, my self-esteem, my self-confidence. And many, many years later, I discovered, the science of neuroplasticity, that anything that we repeat gets reinforced as a neural pattern in the brain. And so I thought of this as innercising and said, can we teach people or give people the tools so that they could actually innercise? And the answer is yes. And over the last 8 years, I've had 100,000 students innercising to amazing success.
Awesome. Now, I've heard the term over the years, and this goes way back for me, but self-talk. And is that any part of Innercise?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's 3 core issues that we want to always be aware of is how am I talking to myself on an ongoing basis? So that's like part 1. So self-talk is part of, mastering your own mindset. But the other part of it is really emotional regulation. And a lot of people think that, I have emotions, but I can't control them. But if that were true, then a Hollywood actor couldn't shift from being angry, to being happy, to being sad, to being compassionate, to being an asshole, on demand. So that means that we can deliberately shift our emotional state. And then the question is, well, why would I want to? And the answer is because there are certain emotional states that actually causes me to take action. And there's certain emotional states that causes me to retreat Maybe because I'm afraid, or I don't want to disappoint myself, or I'm being, I'm fearful of being rejected or ashamed or embarrassed, or etc. So what we want to understand is all of this boils down to neuromechanics. What's happening in my brain actually affects, what I see. It actually affects how I feel, and how I, see things, and how I feel determines whether I will take action or not. So understanding these mechanisms of how do I deliberately control them and get better at those is what Innercise is all about.
I think, Kevin, that you bring up self-talk is hugely important, because I have heard people, in masterminds you and I have been in, I've heard people say things to themselves that they would never say to some, like, would your best friend want you to talk to yourself that way? I think we're our own worst enemy when it comes to beating ourselves up. And as entrepreneurs of Sharkpreneur Nation, we don't give ourselves enough credit. We don't celebrate the wins enough, right?
Oh, yeah, I don't know if you're asking me or Kevin. Well, that's correct. We have about 6,200 thoughts a day, according to the latest neuroscience research. So it's not 50,000 or 70,000, it's about 6,200. Most people's automatic thoughts and the automatic self-talk, 70, 80, 90% is negative. Now, most people don't know how to be aware of their thoughts, and they don't know how to shift it. And one of my friends, Dr. Daniel Amen, has got a great little process that we'll share. He talks about turn your automatic negative thoughts into automatic positive thoughts. And in order to do that, just be aware that we don't usually have control over what our thoughts are unless we replace the negative, disempowering, destructive ones with empowering, constructive, powerful ones over and over and over and over again. And that is the equivalent of going to the gym and doing more reps, or going out for a run, or biking. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. And so what we want to do is replace the negative or disempowering or destructive ones with positive, constructive ones. And we make that the new default. And that's through spaced repetition. And there's a variety of different techniques. Affirming to oneself is an affirmation. So why not affirm to myself something positive, something that'll lift me up instead of tear me down? Why don't I affirm to myself that it's possible? It's possible for me. I can learn how to do this. I can let this go. I can start this. I can look at it from a different perspective. All of this is something that we can be trained to do.
How did the Innercise app come about?
The clients that I've had over the last 8 years, invest between $1,500 and $10,000 to be in my coaching programs. And every one of them says, we love the Innercises. And part of my goal is to positively impact at least 1 billion people on the planet. So I thought, what if I took the Innercises, what if I created Innercises for leadership and sales and health and business success? And what if I created Innercises for health, wealth, relationship, career, business? What if I made it, $10 a month or $100 a year, and put hundreds and then thousands of Innercises into an app that people could have in the palm of their hand? And so that's where it began. Wanted to reduce the cost to reach millions and millions of people. And as an entrepreneur myself, I set a goal of having 50 million people Innercising on the app by 2025, with 5 million people paying a small monthly fee to train their brains.
That's awesome. John, when I think of your background, all the things you've done, you're an entrepreneur, an author, et cetera. I see kind of like two sides. One is the creative side that you've got, which is writing books and content and Innercise and apps. But then you got to have the business side, the entrepreneur side. You got to raise capital. You've got to do all those things to build the business, customer acquisition, and the lifetime value of the customer, and all those analysis. Now, where do you like to spend your day-to-day? I mean, I know you got to do both, but is there a sweet spot for you in terms of those activities?
Sure. So I would say probably about 50%, 60% of my days working with my team and getting things done through them. And, for me, it's a matter of guide them, teach them, encourage them, let them go so we can, use leverage, human leverage, technology leverage. Another portion is doing the research on how do I take some complex stuff like the human brain and behavior and habits, and then how do I simplify it so it's easy for me to teach it to others. So I spend some of my time on that. And the other part is I'm learning I'm a voracious reader, watcher of other people's success. I watch what they do. I look to see how are they doing it. And so I'm constantly leveling up my game so that, I can just become a better version of me every single day. So it's a little bit of everything, but
that's great.
The other part is really focusing on my spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical health. So that takes about 2 hours of my day, which is like right up there with oxygen for me.
There you go. Fantastic.
What does your morning routine look like?
Perfect. Since it's still morning here in San Diego, it's I wake up around 6 o'clock, 6:15. I don't sleep with an alarm clock. I go to bed around 10:30, wake up at 6:15. First thing is a meditation, followed by Innercise, followed by a workout, followed by a high protein, good fat and fiber smoothie. And then I'm in my office meeting with my assistant at 8:30. So I have 2 hours in the morning for me to do the things that are important for me. Before I start my workday, I review my Exceptional Life Blueprint, which is a book of all of my goals, things I've achieved, my family, things I want to achieve. I review my goals and I do something called cognitive priming. I prime my brain to give it the instruction of here are the things in health, wealth, relationships, career, business, finance, charity that I want to trade my life for. So I prime it every single morning. That's my AM routine.
Awesome. John, I know you have a great goal, 50 million users by 2025, I think you said. One of the big things that is working in today's world, and I come out of the as seen on TV business. I had to morph into digital and create new ways to find customers. Of course, one of the things that we've focused on with some of our campaigns is influencers and the way they can help bring massive influence and sales to the table. Will you be utilizing that marketing, kind of influencing marketing at all in your expansion?
Yeah, so we have several different channels that we focus on. As all of us know, the name of the game is eyeballs, right? Getting enough people to see what you've got. In order to see what you've got to make them aware. So we have obviously our own database of people that have been following my work for many, many years. So we nurture those relationships. We have media. We spend about $500,000 a month on Facebook, YouTube, Google media channels to generate leads for, to get people to be aware of what we do. We give them a lot of free stuff, and then we nurture them and educate them into, possibly wanting to work with us. Then we have our affiliates, which are, people that like what we do and we like what they do, and we do joint ventures between, our companies. Then we have the influencers, the micro influencers, and some of the big influencers as well. So we're looking for as many different channels in order to, get in front of the right audience for us who we can help. And so we're looking at as many different channels as possible. And as we all know, the game is, lead generation, lead qualification, lead conversion, then lead nurturing. And since I'm not in the game for a good weekend, I'm in the game for the long term. I don't mind nurturing people with killer content and helping them. And then, hey, by the way, you may want to buy this. You may want to, get involved in one of our programs or our app.
You've had, I think if I heard you correctly, over 100,000 people Innercise already. What have been some of the stories, some of the feedback you've heard in terms of how well it's worked for them?
Sure. So I'll give you some ranges. We had an 80-year-old woman who was a wedding planner in Hawaii, who was nearly bankrupt. Her husband had cancer. He needed money for his cancer treatments. They didn't have a lot of money. She started to Innercise. She started to believe in herself again. She started to shift her perspective. Over the next 12 months, she made $247,000, went on a trip to Thailand for a month with her husband, spent $50,000 on business class tickets, beautiful hotel, beautiful experience. Within 6 months of coming home, unfortunately, he died, but she helped him and her have like a cherry on the icing of their relationship. young entrepreneur, Mark Lax, some of you may even know him, came to me when he had this idea of, wanting to be an entrepreneur. I worked with him and gave him some Innercises, and he wrote a book, started to make some money online, started teaching people how to make money online, building their own brand. He's cranking out $1 million to $3 million a month right now. I've got Joni Sanderson from a small town in Perth, Australia, in her 60s, doing social work for free, never feeling like she was worthy of charging for what she was doing. Started to Innercise, started to make $75,000 a year in her 60s, whereas before she never made more than $12,000 in a year. So that's on the financial side. Heidi Hendler had been overweight for probably 25 years with Crohn's disease, on medication, started to Innercise, started to sleep well, eat better, exercise, as well as a result of changing her internal game, lost 70 pounds, got into the best shape of her adult life, and has maintained it for the last 5 years. So I could take you on people who are suicidal, change their identity, whereby suicide right now is a foreign idea to them. So everything that we're doing with Innercise evolves around upgrading the brain's software. If you think about, were we born with a self-image? No. Were you born with fears? No. Were you born with any types of beliefs? No. Were you born with any skills? No. So from a neuroscience perspective, what is a self-image or self-worth? Where does confidence come from? And at the basic level, it's a pattern that was created and reinforced. So the question is, if there's a pattern that is constructive and positive, it serves you. If the pattern is negative or destructive, it breaks you apart. So how do we use the science of neuroplasticity, right? The brain's ability to wire or rewire itself to create new empowering patterns. That's what Innercises do. So I focus on self-image, self-worth, self-esteem. We focus on empowering beliefs and letting go of disempowering ones. We focus on developing constructive habits. We focus on getting people who have fears, and there's 50 fears, but there's 7 main ones: fear of failure, fear of being embarrassed, ashamed, ridiculed, judged, rejected, etc. And so when we understand, like, the fear circuit is the same in every human being. Fear is not the issue. Fear is a signal that activates in somebody's brain, but the mechanics of fear causes people to fight, freeze, or run away. But there's other people who learn how to use fear as fuel, because fear is releasing the neurochemicals that actually are required, for example, for a flow state. But most people have never been trained how to do this. And this is what we do with Innercise, is we help them really use their brain the way it's supposed to be used. And functionally, every brain works the same. So if every brain works the same, some people are just better operators than others.
Great. John, when I went to I've been to the app and listening to content, I know you've created the content. Going forward, will Innercise have any content from third parties, or will there ever be any branded content that might be involved? What's the content strategy?
Well, great question. So in the expert section of the app, we already have about 8 of our faculty members with content in there, and that's video content, which is more around knowledge and skills.
Okay.
As far as the brain training, we've used my voice, and we used an actor's voice, a female, to test out a female voice as well. The next layer that I think we have to talk about today is artificial intelligence, right? So I can create a script, for example, a brain training script, for example, on ChatGPT or AIPRM. I could take that script, I could load it into another tech platform, AI platform, that has already cloned my voice almost perfectly, and nobody would be able to tell. And then I could create, if you have a fear of ladybugs, I can have an Innercise for you to get rid of your fear of ladybugs. If you're addicted to sucking on somebody's toes and you want to stop that, we can create an Innercise to help you stop that based on addictions, right? If we want,
Seth, there's help for you.
There's help.
You weren't supposed to tell anyone that, Kevin.
So we are actually in the process. We have about 525 Innercises in the app. We have other experts that will be in the app. But then as far as the voices go, we can create, multiple languages, multiple voices, male voices, different accents, and that's all part of our growth plan. And we're seriously looking at how do we accelerate the Innercise development using technology like AI, which we've been testing for 6 months now.
Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
The effect it has on people. This is the little hinge that really swings the big door. And if you can have somebody who thinks maybe I'm not worthy enough or not smart enough or not good enough, or somebody who has a real fear of trying again because they failed, or they have a fear of failure or being embarrassed because of what happened to them in 7th grade when they were embarrassed or ridiculed when they gave the wrong answer in class and their friends, laughed at them and then riddled them, in the cafeteria. So really helping people, let go of the limitations that they have or the real obstacles that really holds them back. I think you'll agree that there's really only 4 things that'll hold anybody back. It's not 30, there's 4. Everything's going to fall into these categories. And either fear holds people back, and I've mentioned the types of fear that it can be. Limiting beliefs hold people back, right? Self-image holds people back, or lack of knowledge and skills holds people back. So all of those are changeable. All of those are things that we can help people set aside. And it all starts with what's happening in their own mind. And, when I was a real estate agent, I'll share a story with you that I think you'll appreciate. When I was a real estate agent, I learned how to do some of these things to start to develop my self-image and self-worth and my confidence. And I practiced a little bit each day of these, what I call our Innercises today. In 1987, I bought the franchising rights for RE/MAX for the state of Indiana, and I started to open up offices. And I realized after a certain period of time that we were stuck, and we were fortunately stuck in 1992 at about $1 billion a year in sales. I'm going, how is it that we're stuck at $1 billion in sales when we're doing so much training? Like we've got experts flying in, all the people in the personal development arena, Brian Tracy, Dennis Waitley, Zig Ziglar. We would bring them all in to teach our people, what to do, but they were stuck. 50,000, 75,000, 100,000, regardless of how much training we did. And so I said, why are they stuck? And so it dawned on me that they were stuck because of something that was going on in here. So I took 75 agents over 6 months, and every day we started to work with them on priming their brain by looking at their vision and their goals and their why. Every day they would visualize themselves achieving that next level of success. Every day they would read their affirmations and listen to their affirmations on cassette tapes that we created for them. Over the next 6 months, those 75 agents increased sales by $100 million more than they had the same time the year before. So I said, okay, this is a freaking inner game. So I took what we did with those 75 people who, by the way, paid $3,000 each at that time. And I just took it across the entire company. And we went from 1.2 billion to 4.5 billion in 3 years.
Wow.
No more skills training, inner game training.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That is absolutely. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, I was just going to say that reminds me of 2 words, and 2 words that have worked for me my whole life: magical transformation. And magical transformation works for products because you have a before and an after, and here you're going to have millions of magical transformations over the next number of years. With 50 million people using this, and within a couple of years, you could have millions of magical transformations. And just want to congratulate you for doing something that's awesome for the world. It's needed for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, this is kind of like my legacy play, I know this is the one thing I can go to. Of course, the knowledge, the skills, and the mentors I've had have been invaluable. But without the inner game stuff, really learning the inner game stuff and how to deliberately train my brain, none of this would be possible for me. It's just without that inner game piece that I And I was fortunate to have mentors right back in 1980 was when this all began for me. And one mentor, one question at lunch changed my life, and one answer changed my life. And so I want to be part of magical transformations for people's lives, Kevin. I just wrote that down. I'm going to borrow, give you credit.
There you go. Thank you.
Well, we know your time is incredibly valuable, John. We will put a link to the Innercise app in the show notes. We greatly appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you, Seth. Thanks, Kevin. Nice
Hey,
to see you.
John. Good seeing you. Take care.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody, for watching or listening. We will talk to you or see you next time on Sharkpreneur.
Do you need money to fund your idea, product, or service? Are you ready to take your business to the next level but need capital to get it done? Kevin Harrington has heard more than 50,000 pitches and knows how to help you make the perfect pitch to get the funding for your entrepreneurial dream. He's distilled the process down in his perfect pitch cheat sheet, and it's yours for free. Just text PITCH to him right now at 727-888-2100. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 right now and claim your free perfect pitch cheat sheet. Text PITCH to 727-888-2100 to start funding your dream today.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com.